You're listening to Two Girls, One Crossword.
I want to show off my little straw here. Yes, rainbow capitalism is bad. Okay, but sometimes the products are cute and I'm weak. And I was looking for reusable straws anyway, and then Dunkin' Donuts had little rainbow straws, and it comes in a little Dunkin' Donut pack.
And I love Dunkin' Donuts. I'm sorry, it's an East Coast thing, like a thing of pride at this point.
You have a Dunkin' Donuts pride for Dunkin' Donuts, is what you're saying.
Yes, I am like reverse rainbow capitalisming Dunkin' Donuts.
You just want anything with the Dunkin' logo on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
Yeah. I actually have a hard time putting an outfit together for each recording because I can't put any of my Dunkin' gear on because I don't want people to know how crazy I am about Dunkin' Donuts. It's like a private thing. Yes, also that.
Well, here's my thing about donuts. I feel like the new resurgence, there was like froyo, then there was gourmet cupcakes, then there was gourmet donuts. And I'm a firm believer that nothing beats a good old-fashioned chocolate glazed. That's my personal favorite. But I think the simple donuts are better sometimes than these like red. I mean, I like a red velvet donut, sure, but sometimes you just want something reliable.
I totally 100% agree with you. The whole like gourmet donut thing, like it's over. It's over. I'm sorry. We need to move on. We need the next thing. Because it's basically like buying a mini cake, which is fine, but like it's a mini cake. It's not a frickin' donut. Okay. I do have to say though, one of my favorite like quote unquote gourmet donuts that came out of this whole thing is like the pistachio old fashioned from Stan's Donuts. I love that one.
Never had it, but I'll take your word for it. Well, what do you think the next gourmet like remix is going to be? Pancakes?
They are like the Asian like cloud pancakes are popular now.
Yeah,
you know,
those
crepes
are harder
were big
to
for
eat
a while.
It's hard to eat on the go. You kind of need a fork and knife for that.
You do. You can't have a what did I call them? The cloud pancakes. You can't have a cloud pancake.
I think they're just
vending machine like
Japanese pancakes. I thought.
Yeah, I think so. Something like that. But did you know that they have a gourmet cupcake vending machine outside of what is the
Sprinkles?
Big Sprinkles?
Yes, I do know that.
Yeah.
Don't doubt me. I know everything when it comes to sweets in the city.
She knows. She knows. This girl knows her sweets. Okay.
Speaking of sweets, should we get into our sweet?
Oh my goodness!
We haven't even said who we are.
Who are we?
I think we're called the Good Evening Girls, and this is Two Girls, One Crossword, and I think it's everyone's favorite weekly Podword Crosscast.
She thinks.
I am Grace Topinka.
Yep, that's her, and I'm Chelsea Rowan, and we were just so ready to record and like get into it that we almost forgot to introduce ourselves. But I feel like if you are a longtime listener of Two Girls, One Crosswords, you know that we almost every single week screw up our intro in some way or another. It's basically our personality at this point. So stick around.
There's no good way to do it. We would have to like pre-record it, but then that's the whole thing. I like the way we do it now.
I agree.
But I am excited. I was excited to get into Polapalooza because it was about a topic I'm very passionate about. So we asked our Twitter followers, how much do you know about the Rocky Horror Picture Show?
Ooh.
And it rhymed. Lovely. Potential answers were, I've never seen it, I know the music, I've seen the movie, and midnight showing, baby. And I'm happy to say that in first place with 42% is midnight showing.
You must be very pleased.
I am. So shout out to all of our listeners. I knew you guys were cool.
She knew she could count on you, actually. So that's good. You have people out there, Grace.
I know, and it makes me happy. So in second place with 26%, we've had I've never seen it. There's always time. In third place with 21% close behind, we have I've seen the movie. And then 11%, I know the music. So.
Okay. I wonder if I know any of the songs. I genuinely could not. If you gave me a title of one of the songs, no idea. Could you sing me something?
If you didn't know any, it would probably be Time Warp, only because I feel like that one is played a lot at dances and other
How does
events.
it
go? Well, I'm not going to sing it. It's the one that's like, it's just a jump to the left, then a step to the right. Put your hands on your hips, bring your knees in tight. But it's the pelvic thrust that'll drive you insane. Let's do the time warp again.
You sound amazing. I have no idea what that is. So I really am a true Rocky Horror virgin.
Wow, you made me embarrass myself.
That was actually the goal this whole time. I've actually never seen Rocky Horror Picture Show for this exact moment.
Well, I hope you're happy because it worked out for you, okay?
Oh, you want to know what else worked out for me, Grace?
What did?
Well, I have a corrections corner this week.
Oh,
Sort
you
of.
do?
Sort of. I'm correcting myself because I've never been relaxed ever a day in my life. And I remember that I said something like last week about the King Tut exhibition. We were talking about it. I was like, I think it's like a thing going around 17 different cities. And I think I said it started in like such and such year. Anyway, it's been eating me alive because
This is why you haven't been able to sleep all week?
Yeah, this is why I've been texting you at 3 a.m. in the morning. So I was like, okay, what's the real deal? What is the actual King Tut exhibit situation, like the new one? So I've got the answers. Okay. So the new King Tut exhibit that is traveling the world is called The Treasures of the Golden Pharaoh. And it was supposed to run from March 2018 to May 2020 in 10 cities. But some of the later exhibitions were postponed due to coronavirus, obviously. I believe there's only 2 exhibitions remaining, Boston, as in Boston, Massachusetts, and Sydney, as in Sydney, Australia. And then the exhibit will be moved permanently to the Grand Egyptian Museum in Cairo, and it is going to be the last time the artifacts will be displayed outside of Egypt.
How could they say that? The last time forever?
Apparently forever. I mean, obviously nothing is set in stone, but the world is ending. Global warming is happening.
True.
So maybe they're just like, they're like taking the L. They're like, this is it. We want King Tut to have his final resting place as the world burns to ashes at home in Egypt, where he's comfy in his sarcophagus.
I cannot argue with that, but I feel like in 100 years, if the planet is still around and someone's like, I want to take this on tour again, who's going to stop them?
Literally nobody. Maybe the angry Egyptian people, if they're like, no. Which would it be like?
At that point, everyone who wants it to, well, who knows? I guess maybe the traditional carry-on that they don't want it to travel anymore. I guess we'll never know. There's no way for us to know, so.
That's a TikTok sound.
Yeah.
I guess we'll never know. Anyway, so that's my minor corrections corner because I'm insane and I can't let anything go. Shall we move into our next segment, our hits and our shits?
Yes, let's.
Okay. I'm going to start us off with the Friday, June 4th, New Yorker by Eric Agard. We love Eric's puzzles. I am always pleased to see Eric's name pop up in the New Yorker. My favorite clue from the entire week goes to 31 Across, semi-regular Amazon event. And the answer was labor strike. So it was just topical and also just like a nice like flip on its head of what you were potentially anticipating the answer to be. And also
it was going to be
true. So
I thought it was going to be rain showers. I was thinking Rainforest Cafe. But yeah, have you been seeing those new commercials now where people are like, everyone told me not to work at Amazon, but actually I love it.
It's so cringy.
It's just so like feels so dystopian.
It does. Like, it feels really dystopian and super tone deaf also.
Yeah. But what company is doing it? It's not even advertising the product. I mean, I guess it is in a way, but it's basically just covering their butts to be like, no.
Well, they're trying to get people to apply. They want people to work there. It's just weird to me. It's like, okay, thank you. It reminds me of what's that movie we watched with the horses?
Thank You for Calling?
Something yes, that one. Oh god.
With Keith. Yeah,
with Keith. Anyway, it gives off that vibe, that just kind of dystopian vibe. Anyway, also from this Eric Agard puzzle, I liked 11 Down. Its punchline is designed not to land. The answer was anti-joke. And then 34 Down, like the line, I have had it with these monkey fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday plane. And the answer was censored. So that was really cute. and fun. So thanks for the laughs.
Can I do a quick correction? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank You for Calling is like a documentary that was, for some reason, in my brain. And to be fair, in the movie, he does work at a call center. The movie is called Sorry to Bother You.
Yes. Okay, yes. It's so good and an incredible criticism on capitalism, and would highly recommend it to anybody at all in the entire world.
Takes a wild turn.
It does, and it really very much gives off those Amazon dystopian advertisement vibes. So very much. What do you got? What's a hit? What's a shit? Do you have one or the other? Do you have both? Nothing.
I have a little bit of a shit, kind of. But it's just me being, it's not real. It's just me being petty. So the Saturday, June 5th, New York Times by Peter Wentz. First, there was a lot of clues that I liked, or just things that I learned from this puzzle, like 4 down, sources of hypoallergenic fiber, alpacas.
I learned that too. Very nice.
So if you have any allergies, alpaca as a pet, maybe. Just kidding. Do not keep that as a pet unless you live on a farm. Okay. 24 down, 8'2" children's character, big bird. Just love a reminder how gigantic. And then postponed indefinitely, mothballed. I did not know that was a saying. The one shit, it's not really, well, okay, 20 across, expecting informally, and the answer is prego. And I just feel like there's something about, there's certain words that just, like, get to me. Prego, when people say hubby and wifey, I just, like, I don't know. I mean, I understand that that's me being petty, and people can, whatever makes you happy, but that does not make me happy.
No, some words have, like, a certain connotation to them. And I'm not sure, I don't want to use this word because I don't like the connotations that this word has, but I think it is an apt label. It feels kind of chuggy.
Yes,
you know?
It does.
But
well, chuggy they have other issues now, too.
There's other issues going on with the word chuggy, but just to give you like a vibe, that's kind of what the word prego is in the same room as chuggy, I think.
Yeah. So that's not really a criticism of the constructor. I mean,
no.
Whatever that is, expecting informally, but I just saw it and was like, oh.
Yeah. I really liked the Friday, June 4th New York Times by Nam Jin Yoon. Did you do this one? So good. 13 across. Oh, what?
Well, I have a hit from it. The 1 across hot pot spot. It was kiln.
Oh, yes. It's so nice. Yeah. Also, I really want to go to Hot Pot. Speaking of just, I don't know.
I would do that.
I want to go to Hot Pot so bad. I also liked 13 across. Something said while nodding. And the answer was, I need a nap. Hilarious. This one tripped Matt and I up so bad, but so good. 18 across. A child who's lying might make one. And the answer was snow angel. I mean, honestly, how good is that? And then 40 across. Small organic food producer was honeybees. Very cute. And then 54 across. Space out, ? Was escape pod. Just incredible wordplay in this puzzle. Just really tricky cluing, but really satisfying when you put the answer in. I love when that happens, when the clue trips you up for so long, and then you finally get the answer, and it's just, you're like, oh, that is so smart. That's so good. I felt like the entire puzzle was amazing. And the last one I really loved from that puzzle was 48 down. Cars for cats, say? And the answer was typo. Like, how cute was that?
That one tripped me up too, but yeah.
So good.
I liked the Tuesday, June 8th by Christopher Adams. The clue, it was like 16. It was 16 across with 22 down. A star of TV's claws, and it's Niecy Nash. I just liked seeing her in the puzzle. 1, because she was the interim host in The Masked Singer. 2, she's just in everything, very talented. But also because she, was married to a man and then came out this year. They got divorced and she married a woman. And she just posted it on Twitter and didn't say anything else about it. And we love to see it. So
we love to see it.
Also, I feel like Niecy, Niecy, is really good crossword use. So hopefully we see her more often in the puzzles.
Hello, constructors. Take notes. Is that it from that puzzle that you liked?
Yes.
I liked the Tuesday, June 8th USA Today by Rachel Faby. The theme was fun. The title of the puzzle was Prefix Menu. And so there was 3 themed answers. The first was 17 across, stacked breakfast food, pancakes. 13 across, rich brown sauce in French cuisine was demi-glace. 63 across was Korean rice dish, and the answer was bibimbap. And the prefixes in each of the words are a sexual orientation. So, like, I'm assuming in celebration of Pride Month. So, bi was at the beginning of bibimbap, demi was the beginning of demi-glaze, and pan was at the beginning of pancakes. So,
Oh.
yeah.
Wow. Prideful and also makes me hungry for breakfast.
Right? Another good one from that puzzle was 60 down, snowballs, spitballs, etc. And the answer was ammo.
Oh.
I thought it was cute.
Yeah.
There's this like thing about like passing the breakfast test, I believe, in crosswords, where like you don't want to have clues or answers that make you kind of like your stomach turn, that wouldn't pass the breakfast test, something you wouldn't talk about over the breakfast table, right? And I feel like ammo, like I don't like to think about guns, and I don't like to think about people dying because of guns or like war or whatever. But I liked that sometimes you need to use things like ammo, it's like crosswordese, and to reframe the clue in a way that isn't negative, that would pass the breakfast test. So I really liked that it was snowballs, spitballs, etc. Yes, they are ammo, which I think is a better way to frame ammo than like bullets, for example. Anyway, so yes, I liked that.
I agree with that. The Wednesday, June 9th New York Times by Byron Walden. I like 26 down, dial or tone. It was like, it took me a little bit to get this. It was soap. Interesting. And then something I learned, 41 across, blabbing informant, is stool pigeon.
Oh, right.
I didn't know what that was, so I looked it up, and it is a police informer. A person acting as a decoy.
Okay. Be wary.
Yes, ACAB, but interesting vocab to learn.
Exactly. Speaking of Wednesday puzzles, I liked the Wednesday, June 9th New Yorker, Elizabeth C. Gorski. 4 down. This reminded me of Grace. Soaps from Latin America. And the answer was telenovelas. If you're interested in learning about soap operas, tune in to episode 88, Good, Clean, Soapy Fun. And then 7 down, artwork displayed near a sitting area, question mark. This is like the full, like top to bottom answer. I thought it would be like portrait subject. And it fit, but it was wrong. The answer was lower back tattoo. Artwork displayed near a sitting, your butt area.
Oh, that's smart.
How good is that? So good. Yeah. That's all I got.
That's all I got.
Are we done?
So, should we flip the coin?
I think we should flip the coin. Let me do it. Let me get this coin out of my pocket. Just kidding.
Liar.
I flip a digital coin. Okay. All
We're
right.
cashless over here at Good Evening Girls.
Cards only. We will provide our Venmo, and you're more than welcome to send us any amount of quarters there. Okay. I'm flipping the coin now. It's tails.
Me. All right.
It's Grace.
I can do that.
She can do it.
My topic is from the Washington Post Sunday puzzle, June 6th, by Evan Bernholz. 24 across, Native American talismans suspended over cradles and beds.
Ooh.
Dream catchers.
Yes. That was part of the theme of the puzzle, too. It was a nice, fun theme. Matt and I got it right away, and we felt like literal fucking geniuses.
Oh, I know. I did the same thing. The theme was rebuses, and they were all different tests. So dream catchers, MCAT was the test hidden in that word.
Yeah, it was nice.
But about dream catchers. All right. So basically, in Native American cultures, a dream catcher is a handmade wooden hoop, usually made out of willow, on which is woven a net or a web, and it's often decorated with sacred objects like feathers or beads, and it's traditionally hung over babies' cradles as a form of armor and protection. Okay, so the first use of dream catchers can be traced back to a specific tribe, the Ojibwe tribe, and they slowly start to spread to some neighboring tribes through like intertribal marriage and trade. In the 60s and 70s, due to the Pan-Indian movement, they were adopted by various tribes. They were seen as a symbol of unitedness and oneness for multiple indigenous cultures and regions. And it is a symbol that's generally associated with Native Americans, although it's also one of the most misused and exploited crafts among non-natives. So on that note, I'm going to talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
There's a website called hownottotravel.likeabasicbitch.com, and they have a lot of good stuff on there. But they asked the question, is there an inoffensive way for non-natives to use/possess dream catchers, or is it generally a no-no? And they had native people answer. They didn't have any of the names, so it's kind of all anonymous, but I'm just going to read some of their answers.
Okay.
Someone says, can I just say that a hoop with doilies sewn in it and ribbon tied to the bottom of it is not a dream catcher? Someone else, I feel that it depends on where you get your dream catcher. Did you attend an event, learn something about a specific tribal nation, and or meet a native person and choose to support their art by purchasing one from them? Then yes. Did you see it at your favorite shopping center and know nothing about where it came from? Then no. Someone else. Many Navajo people make a living on roadside sales and other locations selling dream catchers. They are handmade, which really hold no significant meaning, except it appeals to non-native people. To me, it seems non-natives come to reservations in search of some mystical experience and to take home trinkets to show that they were amongst native people. A lot of the Hollywood stereotypical accessories and jewelry sell, so native salespeople use that to their advantage. Someone else says, I'm from a tribe that is not Ojibwe. I've seen natives all over Oklahoma sell dream catchers, some handmade, some probably made in Asia and branded with a tribal logo and sold in tribally owned gas stations and shops. Personally, I wouldn't buy those either because they aren't Ojibwe. This is another example of how natives are so diverse. Buying from an indigenous person is a good general rule, but natives also appropriate each other in a way. These subtleties are so hard to get as an outsider, so that would be a big reason I'd say no to it. And then lastly, I think it's bullshit that non-native people come with the stereotypical version of who we are, as in what Hollywood portrays us to be. If our native people can make a living on what is being sold, I think that's good for them. But it doesn't change the fact that native people are always adjusting to white privilege. It's annoying AF how they come wanting some mystical meaning or answer, like, it's just a fucking dream catcher that supposedly catches bad dreams. So,
Okay.
Yes, I was going to end with that because that was the last thing I looked up in my research, but I wanted to start with it to kind of address the fact that I am a white person talking about Native American culture or of, a small part of it. And in my research, I noticed a lot of the websites that when I was looking for, origins and information, a lot of it was like more new agey craft websites. And then when I looked to see what other stuff they sold or who ran it, it was non-native people.
That's so interesting. Yes.
And I think dream catchers especially are a perfect example of this. I mean, I had a dream catcher. I think anyone who was around in the 90s probably had one. They sold them at like Claire's and
right.
I knew they were to catch bad dreams, but I didn't really know any more history behind it.
Right.
So hoping today I can talk about some of that history, and I tried to use like legitimate sources. I'll talk about those as I go through. But first I'm going to talk about the origins, and I got this information from NativeAmericanVault.com. So it talks about the Ojibwe culture. That's like where dream catchers first started. So dreams have been a fundamental part of Ojibwe culture, and some purposes they have are, 1, prophecies. So dreams can show future events that will affect a tribe or individual. 2, names. Spiritual leaders can receive the name of a newborn child through dreams. 3, spiritual strength. Many Ojibwe people pray, meditate, and fast in order to bring on dreams that will give them spiritual guidance during difficult times. And then lastly, symbolism. Dreamers will often see a symbol that has personal meaning to them throughout their lives. Many Ojibwe make a charm to keep with them to remind them of the symbol, and some even take them to the grave when they die for strength in the afterlife. So the Ojibwe people so appreciate dreams and the importance of dreams, especially in children, that they started making dream catchers in order for the children to receive good dreams and filter out any dark and negative ones. So essentially how it works is that the web of the dream catcher will trap bad dreams or dark spirits, and then the good dreams escape through the tiny hole in the center of the web.
Ah, okay.
So these are the legends that are associated with the dream catcher. I have 2 different ones from 2 different tribes. So this is the Ojibwe legend. I got this from wearenative.org, which is a health resource for Native youth by Native youth. I'll link them in the details of this episode because they have like all social medias and everything too. Okay, so this legend is about a figure from the Ojibwe mythology, in English known as the Spider Woman. So the Spider Woman, I'm just saying it verbatim from the website because I don't want to mess anything up. So the Spider Woman took care of her children, the people of the land, and she continues to do so to this day. Long ago in the ancient world of the Ojibwe Nation, the clans were all located in one area called Turtle Island. When the Ojibwe Nation dispersed to the four corners of North America, Spider-Woman had a difficult time making journeys to all those baby cradle boards. So the mothers, sisters, and grandmothers weaved magical webs for the new babies using willow hoops and sinew. The shape of the circle represents how Grandfather Sun travels across the sky. The dreamcatcher filters out the bad dreams and allows only good thoughts to enter into our minds when we are asleep. A small hole in the center of the dreamcatcher is where the good dreams come through. With the first rays of sunlight, the bad dreams will perish. When we see little Spider-Woman, we should not fear her, but instead respect and protect her. In honor of their origin, many dream catchers have 8 points where the web connects to the hoops. 8 points for the Spider-Woman's 8 legs.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, so I didn't know that a lot of times dream catchers, they're above the bed, but they also want to be in sunlight because the sunlight is supposed to, like, dissipate the bad dreams that were caught in the web.
Interesting. Okay.
So this is another legend, a Lakota legend. I got this from the Acta Lakota Museum and Cultural Center website, and I did make a donation to them just for accountability purposes because they posted this information and I'm using it. So this legend is a little bit different because the good dreams are caught in the web and the bad dreams get filtered through.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so also, again, verbatim because I didn't want to mess it up. Long ago, when the world was young, an old Lakota spiritual leader was on a high mountain. On the mountain, he had a vision. In his vision, Iktomi, the great trickster and teacher of wisdom, appeared in the form of a spider. Iktomi spoke to him in a sacred language. Only spiritual leaders of the Lakota could understand. As Iktomi spoke, he took the elder's willow hoop, which had feathers, horsehair, beads, and offerings on it, and began to spin a web. He spoke to the elder about the cycles of life and how we begin our lives as infants. We then move on to childhood and into adulthood. Finally, we go to old age, where we must be taken care of as infants, thus completing the cycle. But, Iktomi said, as he continued to spin his web, in each time of life there are many forces, some good and some bad. If you listen to the good forces, they will steer you in the right direction. But if you listen to the bad forces, they will hurt you and steer you in the wrong direction. He continued, there are many forces in different directions that can help or interfere with the harmony of nature and also with the Great Spirit and all of his wonderful teachings. All while the spider spoke, he continued to weave his web, starting from the outside and working toward the center. When Iktomi finished speaking, he gave the Lakota elder the web and said, see, the web is a perfect circle, but there is a hole in the center of the circle. Use the web to help yourself and your people, to reach your goals and make use of your people's ideas, dreams, and visions. If you believe in the Great Spirit, the web will catch your good ideas, and the bad ones will go through the hole. Parentheses, note, some bands believe the bad ideas are caught in the web and the good ideas pass through to the individual. Either account is acceptable. End parentheses. The Lakota elder passed his vision on to his people. Now the Sioux used the dream catchers as the web of their life. Traditionally, it is hung above their beds or in their homes to sift their dreams and visions. Good dreams are captured in the web of life and carried with them, but the evil dreams escape through the center's hole and are no longer part of them. Lakota believe the dream catcher holds the destiny of their future.
Okay.
So those are the 2 dream catcher legends associated with a spider and a spider web with a hole in the middle. That's why I think it's kind of interesting when sometimes you see dream catchers like on, I feel like when that bohemian style was really in, it's like dream catchers shaped like a moon, or they have like floral patterns in the middle or like a doily, stuff like that, when there's actually a reason why it looks how it looks. It's supposed to be the web with the center in the middle. So here every like part of the dream catcher has a meaning. I got this from NativeAmericanVault.com. So the wooden hoop is either circular or teardrop shaped. It is the frame for the web, but some believe it represents the circle of life. So again, not in the shape of like a star or a flower or anything.
Right.
The web traditionally patterned after a spider's web, is to catch bad dreams, good for Lakota, and keep them from entering the dreamer's head. Feathers, there's a number of purposes that are assigned to the feathers that hang down from the hoop, but a lot of people believe that they provide a soft ladder for the good dream to glide down and gently enter into the dreamer's mind.
Oh, that's actually like a beautiful image.
Yeah. And And then some more modern additions have been beads. A single bead can represent a spider that spun the web. Or if you see many beads, it could represent good dreams that get trapped during the night. And then gemstones, because it is illegal for most people to possess certain types of feathers, gemstones are now used to replace the symbolism of feathers. And then now sometimes you see arrowheads for increased strength and protection. Some makers add arrowheads, and then sometimes arrowheads point to the four corners of the earth, directions from which the wind blows. Those dream catchers, it's basically, a gift from a mother or grandmother to their child to protect them. Like some of the quotes earlier said, it's become like this super popular, like mystical, type thing. But it's actually has like a really sweet and interesting history. But speaking of people like appropriating it, I wanted to end by talking about the Indian Arts and Crafts Act of the 1990. Okay. So the Indian Arts and Crafts Act of 1990 is a truth in advertising law that prohibits misrepresentation in the marketing of Indian art and craft products in the U.S. So basically, it is illegal to sell or market any craft or product in a manner that falsely suggests that it was made by a native person, a tribe, native people, etc. This is only in the United States, of course. All products must be marketed truthfully regarding the tribal enrollment of the producer so as not to mislead the consumer. It is illegal to market art or craftwork using the name of a tribe if a member or certified Indian artisan of that tribe did not actually create the art or craftwork. For example, you cannot sell products with a sign that says Indian jewelry unless it was actually produced by someone or if it was produced by someone who was a certified Indian artisan or of like a Indian tribe. So, and products advertised as Navajo jewelry would be in violation of the act if they're produced by someone who is not a member or certified Indian artisan of the Navajo tribe specifically. Okay. And if you're like a company doing this, you can get fined like $1 million, and a person, you can get like 5 years in jail or a lot of money.
Good.
Yes. There is some complications of the law because there are some people who are Native American, but under the law, they don't count as Native American. Based on either like the tribe that they're in, or they need to get like certain paperwork in order to count as like a Native American artisan. So there are some issues with the law, but overall they came out in 1990, which I feel like was when the big boom.
Right. You're right.
Happened. But it also reminded me of Lisa Frank and how that's kind of how she started off. I mean, she was selling actual jewelry made by Native American people, but she was like,
exploiting them,
taking some
to
off
make
the
profit.
top.
Yeah. Complicated. And by complicated, I just mean problematic,
Yes.
That's very interesting. It's also the fact that those legends revolve around a spider is interesting to me. Personally, because spiders scare the crap out of me. So I feel like if I had been young and been taught taught a positive message about spiders from an early age, maybe I wouldn't be so fearful now.
Yeah, that's something that I read said that it was like a lot of people are like scared of spiders, but in Native American culture, they're looked at as like a sign of protection.
Amazing.
Now I'll allow the spiders, but they need to know their place.
I agree.
They can hang out in the corners, but sometimes they get too comfortable and they're down on my tables and stuff.
Oh, like, no. They don't pay rent here.
No.
I let them live in my corners out of
catch the flies.
The goodness of my own heart. But once they start like trying to colonize, we have issues.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. No.
I have gigantic spiders that live outside my window, but it's fine because they're outside, but I get like a really good view of them and they're huge and kind of scary. But
I hate them. Especially in the summer. The summer is when those big boy Chicago spiders come out, and I have to take Neptune off the back, and they're just huge, just webs just hanging, and like the massive spiders, and like the spotlights pop on, and you can see them just living and just like breathing there. And I'm like, this is too much. Like, I understand why you're necessary, but like, do you need to look like that?
Yeah, it's like, can you look like a fluff ball?
Please.
They need the legs to spin their web, so.
Yeah, but do something else. I'm sorry. Anyway.
They need whoever like made squirrels cute as opposed to rats needs to help the spiders out, I think. Maybe like
right.
Little fuzzy spiders aren't much help either. Anyways,
No.
we'll have to brainstorm that later. We don't have time on this
We don't have
episode.
time. We do not have time. We need to get the ogre marketing team over to the spiders and see if we can get something reworked here. Great topic. Very nice.
Thank you.
So my topic is sort of related to your topic. Not really, but it's kind of falls within that same like craft,
Okay.
like under the umbrella of craft work. Okay. And it actually showed up twice across the crosswords this week, maybe more times. I didn't do like every crossword known to man this week, but it did show up twice. The puzzle that made me want to do this topic was the Monday New Yorker by Natan Last, 10 down, origami constructions of which 1,000 are chained together to form a zenbazuru. And the answer was cranes. Okay, and then the Sunday New York Times by Robin Weintraub, 44 across, origami designs thought to bring good fortune, and the answer was cranes. So I am talking about zenbazuru and origami cranes today.
Very cool.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to talk about this, but I wanted to echo what you said about having a difficult time finding sources that are from like the actual culture that I'm researching. So many of the websites and like resources that I found are like how to fold origami cranes and like, like Pinterest boards of like origami crane history and different patterns and like craft websites run by like a white person. And within origami, it's a little different. Origami as like a practice is not culturally just Japanese, which I found interesting. But I struggled to find Japanese run websites where I could actually get like good information from them. And I just don't know if it's because there's just not a lot of good content translated to English, but I also struggled with that. The places that I did get my information from there's an article on National Geographic called How Paper Cranes Became a Symbol of Healing in Japan. That was an incredible article. The most important one is called Paper Cranes Bringing Hope to the World on nippon.com. And then there is a National Park Service.gov article called The Story of Sadako Sasaki. And then also Origami, the Japanese Tradition of Folding Paper on toki.tokyo.com. I also use the 2020 Tokyo Olympics website and a couple other sites, but those are the main 4 that I used.
They talk about origami on those websites?
They did, and it's related to the it's like Paper Peace Corporation or Paper Origami. It's like an organization that promotes peace through the folding of origami, especially paper cranes, and it's connected to the Tokyo Olympics. So you can like make a paper crane and send it to Tokyo for the Olympics. Yeah. And they had like a very nice history of origami on the site. So thanks for that. So let's hop into it. First and foremost, have you folded origami before?
I think I did in like arts and crafts as a child.
Right. Exactly.
I don't know if it was really origami. We folded paper.
Do you remember folding a crane?
No, I don't think so.
I definitely remember folding a paper crane. I feel like I would love to be able to fold one now, but I just don't have the right type of paper for it. You can't use just anything for origami, okay? So yeah, I'm going to give you a very brief history of origami, like very, very brief, because like whenever we talk about kind of these cultural practices, it's hard. You could like do probably like 2 hours, even like 3 or 4 hours on certain things. And especially the Japanese topics that I've already covered, like geisha and wabi-sabi, they're very, very dense and they've got a really rich history. Same thing with origami. So I'm just going to give you a very basic rundown because there's one specific thing that I really want to talk about today. So origami, the word itself is 2 phrases, ori meaning folding and kami meaning paper. So that's basically what the word means, folding of paper.
Makes sense.
It is a traditional Japanese game of folding elaborately designed paper into a bunch of different shapes, typically plants, animals, and other living things. Originally, origami didn't really have rules. You could kind of just fold however you wanted. But nowadays, for something to be considered origami, it requires a square sheet of paper with no cuts, glue, or marking during the folding process. And then, of course, the color, thickness, and porosity of the paper is really important to what it is that you're folding. Like, you can't run up and grab like an A4 piece of computer paper and expect to fold like a tiny, tiny origami crane. There's just no way that you're going to get the folds out of it. The paper is too thick. Origami was likely introduced to Japanese society soon after the invention of paper in China. Buddhist monks probably brought the technology over to Japan during the Heian period, which was 794 to 1185. But before this, like, places that had paper, like China, they had traditional big paper folding practices. And paper folding also has a deep history in Europe as well. So it's not just Japan that has, I think in the West, when we think of paper folding, we think origami specifically. But there's traditional paper folding in most cultures. Anyway, so yeah, paper was brought over to Japan. They did origami. And it was originally just a religious practice. So paper was really expensive. So only the monks could fold the paper. But eventually it was secularized and people would use origami to actually wrap things. So you would like take paper and fold it really nicely and like wrap gifts and then give those gifts to people. In the 17th century, we have one of the first written references of origami in a poem by Ihara Saikaku. And it reads, "The butterflies of Rose-Eye's dreams would be origami." And it's referencing a very specific type of origami called ochomeko, which are male and female butterflies, which back then in the 17th century, they would use it to wrap sake bottles. And if you're having a traditional Shinto wedding today in Japan, you would still wrap your sake bottles with this specific type of origami fold, it's really beautiful. It looks like a butterfly. And it's just interesting to think that like that was used in the 16th century. And if you're doing a traditional wedding today, it's still used.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. And then in 1764, the first published origami instruction book was called Tsutsumi Musubi no Kai by Sadakute Issei, and it contained instructions to fold 13 ceremonial folds. And then in 1797, Zenbazuru Urikata, which translates to folding of 1,000 cranes, is considered the first book that documented recreational paper folding, and it explained how to fold paper cranes in the Zenbazuru form, which I'll talk a little bit about more. That's like the most important aspect of this whole topic that I'm going to talk about. So origami was hugely popular and it spread rapidly, especially during the Edo period, which was because papermaking became much easier. So there was just a lot of paper and so people were just like able to do more origami. It wasn't as expensive. Another influence on the popularity of origami came surprisingly from Germany. Okay.
Oh.
It's kind of weird. There's a man, and his name is Frederick Froebel. He is known as the creator of kindergarten. So he invented kindergarten. And he used folding paper and paper folding to make gifts for the kids within his curriculum. He thought that paper folding was a way for children to discover themselves and the basics of geometry. So this like concept of kindergarten and this concept of paper folding in kindergarten caught on. Teachers took this method all over the world, including Japan. During the Meiji Restoration in Japan, which was in 1868, Japan was modernizing rapidly, and they were influenced and taking after a lot of Western cultures, and they adopted the kindergarten model for young children and educating them. And by doing that, they also brought in the Western version of paper folding. And one of the important aspects of Western paper folding was using the standard 15 centimeter by 15 centimeter square sheet of paper. And that's why that is standard practice now in Japanese origami, is because of Mr. Froebel from Germany.
Wow, what a fun combination.
Right. It's just like, oh, okay, cool. But yeah.
Didn't see that coming.
Didn't see that coming. And that's where I'm going to stop my history of origami. Like I said, history is really beautiful and deep. Those are just some quick fun facts for you. But I really wanted to focus on paper cranes and Zenbazuru in particular. Okay. So here's a question for you. Are you familiar with the significance, or the practice of folding 1,000 paper cranes?
When you said 1,000 paper cranes, it
Did it
rang
spark
a
like
bell. Yes,
did it spark something? Right, it sparked something for me too, but I couldn't remember what it was. But as soon as I started doing this research, I was like, oh, now I remember. So that might happen to you as well.
Okay.
So we're just going to start first with the crane. In Japan, the crane is a mythical creature believed to live 1,000 years. In Japanese, Chinese, and Korean cultures, the crane represents good fortune and longevity, and in Japan, they refer to the crane as the, quote, bird of happiness. The wings of the crane are believed to carry souls to paradise. Because of this, important cultural meaning, it became popular in Japan to fold 1,000 paper cranes. Like one person would take this challenge on. And each folded piece is supposed to represent 1 year of the crane's life. When someone completes all 1,000, the sacred crane will grant them one wish. Okay. Sounds like it's worth it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The paper crane origami fold is called orizoru, and the act of folding 1,000 orizoru is called zenbazoru. So, if you just want to fold one crane, it's called orizoru. But if you're going to do the whole 1,000, that's called the zenbazoru. And people who take up the zenbazoru challenge usually do it to wish love, fortune, fame, or to give to somebody as a birthday or wedding gift.
Okay.
So, the most famous undertaking of zenbazoru was done by Sadako Sasaki. Are you familiar with Sadako Sasaki? And this is the part of the story where I think you're going to be like, I don't know who that is. And then I'm going to tell you the story and you're going to be like, oh, I remember that.
No, I don't.
All right, well, let's get into it. On the morning of August 6th, 1945, American pilot Paul Tibet of the United States Air Force flew a B-29 bomber over the city of Hiroshima, Japan. In the days leading up to August 6th, there had been many B-29 bombers that had flown over Hiroshima, but Tibet's bomber, named the Enola Gay, was different than the others. The Enola Gay was carrying an atomic bomb named Little Boy. By order of U.S. President Harry S. Truman, Tibet and his crew dropped one of the most powerful atomic bombs ever created over the city of Hiroshima. The city's population was approximately 350,000 people. Sadako Sasaki was just 2 years old on August 6, 1945. Sadako and her family lived just over 1 mile from the bomb's epicenter. A blinding white light flashed through the city, and a huge boom was heard miles away as the bomb exploded. Fires broke out all over the city, and radioactive black rain began falling from the sky. Sadako, her mother, and brother escaped the fires. Sadako's grandmother was with them as they fled, but ultimately she turned back to rescue family heirlooms. They never saw her again. Sadako's father was not in Hiroshima at the time, but the family was able to reunite with him. Eventually, they were all able to return to Hiroshima and to try to rebuild their life. But like many families in Hiroshima following World War II, the Sasaki family struggled with sickness, financial hardship, food scarcity, and uncertainty. Those who survived the bombing, such as Sadako and her family, became known as hibakusha. Hi meaning affected, baku meaning bomb, and sha meaning person. And this next part comes directly from Wikipedia. I didn't have time to go further into this, but I just wanted to give you some cultural context of hibakusha. Mm-hmm. So, after World War II, Japan passed the Atomic Bomb Survivors Relief Law, and it defines hibakusha as people who fall into one or more of the following categories. 1. Within a few kilometers of the epicenters of the bomb. 2. Within 2 kilometers of the epicenter within 2 weeks of the bombings. 3. Exposed to radiation from the fallout. Or 4. Not yet born but carried by pregnant women in any of these categories. The Japanese government has recognized about 650,000 people as hibakusha. As of March 31st, 2020, 136,682 were still alive, mostly in Japan. Mm-hmm. The government of Japan recognizes about 1% of these as having illnesses caused by radiation. And then hibakusha are entitled to government support, such as receiving allowances every month, and also receiving, and if you're suffering from a disease related to the bombings, you would also receive special medical allowance as well.
Mm-hmm.
So Sadako and her family were considered hibakusha. And though obviously a survivor of one of the most devastating, like singularly devastating wartime attacks in history, if not the most, it appeared that Sadako was growing up as a happy and healthy child. She was popular at school with her classmates, and she was a passionate runner, one of the fastest in her class at school. But by November 1954, she had developed swelling on her neck and behind her ears, and by January 1955, she had formed purpura on her legs. Purpura is a condition where like these red spots and purple spots can form on your limbs. And when you press them, they don't go away. And it's caused by bleeding underneath the skin. She was diagnosed with acute malignant lymph gland leukemia and hospitalized at the Hiroshima Red Cross Hospital in February 1955. She had less than 1 year to live. It was in the hospital that Sadako learned about the legend of Zenbazaru, which is the folding of 1,000 cranes. And if you finish the folds, you get the wish. She really wanted to finish the folds because she was going to wish for her health back. She did fold 1,000 cranes. She even exceeded that number by at least 300. But sadly, her wish to survive did not come true. Surrounded by 1,300 origami cranes and her family, Sadako passed away on October 25th, 1955. She was 12 years old. Which is really sad.
Yeah, and I have heard of this now that you're saying it.
Yeah. Probably the reason I know about this is because of a book called Sadako and the Thousand Paper Cranes, which is a children's historical novel by a Canadian-American author named Eleanor Coor. It's published in 1977, and I read it in either 3rd or 4th grade. After Sadako's death in 1958, a statue was erected in her honor. It was unveiled in Hiroshima's Peace Memorial Park, and the statue is called the Children's Peace Monument. Sadako is immortalized at the top, where she holds a wire crane above her head. Beneath the main structure, a bronze crane hangs and works as like a wind chime. And then at the base, in Japanese, it's written, quote, "This is our cry, this is our prayer for building peace in the world." And then some 10 million cranes from around the world are offered there every single year.
Wow. 10 million?
10 million. It's probably really beautiful to see. So in 2016, President Barack Obama became the first sitting United States president to visit Hiroshima, which when I read that fact, I was shocked. But yeah, he was the first to go. And he brought 4 paper cranes with him that he had folded himself. Masahiro Sasaki, who is Sadako's older brother who survived her, he heard about President Obama visiting Hiroshima, and he said, quote, "Even though he couldn't give an apology as president, I think he was delivering a personal message that he was sorry. I sensed from those folded cranes both his humanity and that message." End quote. President Obama also donated 2 more cranes in Nagasaki. So Masahiro Sasaki, Sadako's older brother, like I said, has spent much of his life memorializing his sister and the pain of atomic bomb survivors. He is the author of Sadako's 1,000 Cranes and the founder of Sadako's Legacy, an NPO engaged in peace activities such as giving talks and donating the remaining cranes folded by Sadako. In 2007, Sadako Legacy began donating Sadako's cranes around the world in places that needed healing. The first donation was to the 9/11 Memorial in New York City. There were 24 Japanese citizens who were killed in the attacks, and many people were leaving cranes at the fence near Ground Zero. And so Sadako's Legacy was like, we're going to donate one of her cranes to the memorial. In 2015, Sadako's Legacy donated a crane to the city of Sao Paulo, Brazil, which has a community of more than 100 atomic bomb survivors. When I looked into this, apparently, a lot of the hibakusha were sent to Brazil to be treated in hospitals there. And so there's a huge population of hibakusha that live in Sao Paulo, Brazil, which I thought was like, that's so interesting.
Yeah, I never knew that.
I had no idea. But perhaps the most moving story is from 2004, when Masahiro visited the United States for the unveiling of a sculpture of Sadako and her 1,000 cranes in Seattle's Peace Park. So, for a very long time, Masahiro had wanted to donate a crane to the Pearl Harbor Visitor Center as a gesture of peace, but he was uncertain. He said, quote, "I can't donate one of these if it's just a one-sided gesture. It won't mean anything if the recipient doesn't understand its meaning or feel a real need for it," end quote. So while he was in Seattle, unveiling this new statue of his younger sister, he decided to have a phone call with a man named Clifton Truman Daniel. Daniel is the grandson of former U.S. President Harry S. Truman, and in case you forgot, Harry S. Truman was the president who ordered the attack on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So of that conversation, Masahiro said, quote, "I told him that although I was a hibakusha, an atomic bomb victim, I was not speaking as a representative of victims who want to communicate the horror and misery inflicted by the bombings. I said I wanted an opportunity to talk about the fundamental issue of how to eliminate the factors that led to the devastation of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in the first place. And I wanted to speak to someone with a completely different perspective from my own," end quote. What I found beautiful about this is that Daniel was immediately on board, and he gave his support to Masahiro to donate one of Sadaku's cranes to the Pearl Harbor Visitor Center. And by 2010, the crane was put on display at the Visitor Center, and it was one of the last that Sadako ever folded. And it is so, so small and so beautiful, and it is less than the size of your thumbnail. Like, that's how tiny it is.
Wow.
I know. I know. I have no idea. And what is even more beautiful is that there was a paper shortage when Sadako was in the hospital. And so what she would do is she would just get scraps of paper however she could. So if there was another patient that got like a present, she would please, can I have that wrapper? Like anything. She would take scraps of paper from the nurses, anywhere that she could find them. And so her cranes vary in size significantly. And so, yes, this one is very tiny and just so beautiful. And I'm also like, how is that even possible? But she did it. And it's in the Pearl Harbor Visitor Center Museum. I would actually really like to see it one day.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then Masahiro and Daniel actually met in person in 2010. And Daniel confided in Masahiro that he had always wanted to visit Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but he hesitated because he was afraid of what would happen if it got out that Truman's grandson was there. Like, he was nervous. But after meeting Masahiro, he finally got the courage to go. And so Daniel traveled to Japan in August of 2012 and attended ceremonies in both Hiroshima and Nagasaki. There, he and his family listened to the stories from over 40 hibakusha. And then at a press conference, Daniel said that he had come to Japan to explore ways for Japan and the United States to overcome the enmity of the past and work for a better future for the children of both countries. And as of 2016, Masahiro and Daniel were working to open the first U.S. branch of the Sadako legacy.
Wow. Wait, 2019 you said?
2016.
2016, okay.
So
recent.
Yes, very recent. I don't know if it's finished yet because I haven't found anything online about it. The Sadako legacy is still up and running and still going in Japan. It's mainly fronted by Masahiro's children now because he's very old. But he's still with us, so who knows? And Daniel is very active in teaching like true history around the bombings of Japan, which I thought is very interesting, and it's just also good, like you should be. So yeah, I want to end with a quote from Masahiro about his sister. Quote, "Sadako was a special child. Even though she knew she had leukemia, she pretended she didn't, out of consideration for her family, and fought the fear and pain alone. She tried to overcome her condition by folding paper cranes. She was born with a destiny." End quote.
Very nice. I'm glad you did that topic. I learned a lot.
Thanks. I learned a lot too. It's beautiful and horrifying and sad and just touching. I also really want to fold origami cranes now.
I feel like I don't know. Maybe I'd be okay at it. The only thing I know how to fold is I can make a dollar bill into a butterfly type thing.
Amazing. That's all origami and paper folding. Seriously. And one of the interesting things about origami is that it is, like I said, it's not like specifically just a Japanese tradition. There are specifically Japanese folds like the crane, but paper folding is not strictly a Japanese thing. And if you were to fold a crane, like it's not considered cultural appropriation necessarily. So you and I could fold paper cranes if we wanted to. And Japan asks you to send paper cranes to Tokyo to the Peace Memorial in Hiroshima for Sadako and her family, which is really beautiful. The senbazuru, like when you string all of the cranes together, it's like this beautiful waterfall of colors. It's like a huge fountain of cranes. And it doesn't even look like cranes because they're like nested on top of each other. It's like if you took a crane and you started setting them on top of each other, and it's like one long strand and then another long strand and another. It's really beautiful.
Well, we should post a picture of that on our Instagram.
Oh, we definitely should. I'm really excited. My pictures this week they're going to be fun or nice, pretty.
So if you want to follow us on Instagram, you can at the Good Evening Girls.
Or you can follow us on Twitter where Grace posts her amazing polls. You can find us there at the Good Eve Girls.
Or TikTok at the Good Eve Girls.
Which has nothing to do with the podcast, but everything to do with our egos. So.
Yes, and that is important. We must feed them every once in a while.
We really, really, really must. So thanks for listening this week, and we hope you enjoyed.
We'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time, folks. Bye-bye.
Bye.